So, Gerry, let me first of all welcome you to the discussion today. Thank you so much for being here. Can I first ask you to introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
No worries. Great to be here. I'm Gerry O'Hanlon. I'm the country business leader for Alcatel Lucent Enterprise here in the UK and Ireland.
So, let's set the scene first of all. Can you tell us what are the current cybersecurity threats that businesses are facing?
Okay, so I think that in general terms, the threats are reasonably well known. What you have is internally, it could be disgruntled employees. It could even be a employee that's been misled by an outside source. But there's also bad actors out there. There's countries, individuals who may wish to cause harm for economic or other financial reasons. Um, Maybe more or less well known is the potential for IoT devices to cause vulnerabilities. You have the legacy devices that might be unprotected or not up to date with the correct software levels, and then the overarching element of shadow IT, the devices that are what the Americans might have called known unknowns at one point. But you've got that, but that's just our understanding at the moment. The threat landscape is forever changing. For example, you throw in the geopolitical uncertainty that we've got at the moment, and then you kind of start questioning, can we rely on our age-old alliances? Do we need to be more cautious in terms of the relationships, the vendors that we're working with and where they're based? Will that create other issues? And of course, what you've got different bodies around the world looking at how they regulate and how they understand these threats themselves.
Absolutely. It's constantly evolving, isn't it, as we keep hearing? And
Yeah.
one of the other areas that we're hearing a lot about is the convergence of IT and OT. And there's obviously lots of
Yes.
benefits of that. But then what are the issues when it comes to cybersecurity for IT, OT convergence?
So IT and OT, if we take them individually as a start, IT or IT sciences, it's now becoming more commonly referred to is a well known and the security practices are well established. OT, however, is a different kettle of fish. What you have is you have established systems that traditionally have been standalone. They've been proprietary, they've been siloed, and they've also been non-IP. Now, the convergence is bringing that, and there's a fair amount of speed that we want to bring those legacy systems in, to control them, to manage them. But generally, they've been hard to update. They've been hard to patch. They're not an IP system natively, and that brings with it security concerns, especially when the organisations that have been using them haven't actually been living up to what we would deem IT best practice. So suddenly what you've got is a whole load of new threats and vulnerabilities being created by IT-OT convergence. Now that also then becomes part of the IoT landscape as well. And OT generally are very important infrastructure devices, whether it's in water plants, energy plants, large manufacturers. So these are important aspects, and we need to control and play safe around them.
Let's talk a little bit about regulations then. What
Yep.
regulations are relevant in the cyber landscape?
So, in terms of the obvious one affecting us here in UK and EU, NIST 2 is the one that is there now. That is aimed obviously at European Union sites, but the UK needs to take an awareness of that, because if you're a UK business or a department with an entity within Europe, you need to abide by NIST 2. Wider, you've got America with its cybersecurity framework, as well as CISA. So they've got guidelines in place, but we're seeing more and more regulations coming from different parts of the world. The UK has also got its Cybersecurity and Resilience Act now coming into force, or going through Parliament. We saw it in the King's Speech last year. Going through Parliament at the moment is very similar to the NIST 2 regulations, and that we anticipate will be in force for UK companies come Q1 of 2026. But what we've got to just understand is that there is more and more regulations out there, and these regulations are out there to deliver security to the companies. But the regulations are not without teeth. If we take NIST 2, for example, NIST 2 gives the European governments the ability to fine up to 10 million euros, or 2% of their annual turnover. That's not insubstantial. That's phenomenal. So you've got that. But what you then probably need to also think about is, if you're in breach of NIST 2, you will also have other organisations looking at things. Say, for example, your insurance company. What will their view be of you being in breach of European regulations around your security? Will that invalidate you? So not only do you need to take cognizance of the regulations, you also need to look at the wider impact not being up to date actually will have.
Absolutely. There's many layers to it, aren't there?
There is, yes.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about ALE then. What features and functionality does ALE bring to the table across its portfolio of networking, comms, clouds, and services?
Okay, so ALE, we go to the market providing solutions for both communications, voice, and networking. Now, the most obvious and easiest way to support our business partners and our clients in the field is to deliver them support services. Within the communications element, we call it SPS, and within the networking environment, we call that network support service. Now, what that does is that allows them to be up to the latest revision of software. It gives them advice around vulnerabilities, if there is, so as they can take proactive action, and make sure that they've got bug fixes, etc., all as part of the contract. So that's the most obvious way that we can support. However, if I break that down into their constituent parts, within networking, we have network management. We call it OmniVista. Now, what that does is that delivers real-time information about our users, about the devices that are all online. It's important because one of the tenets of NIST 2 is to say that if you are subject to a cyber attack, you need to be able to confirm who was on the network, what devices were on the network, and what they were doing at the time. So OmniVista delivers that. But you can do a bit more to help yourself. You could use things like ZTNA, Zero Trust network access. Now, the whole point about that is to look at, perhaps, as I mentioned earlier, the IoT devices, the IT-OT convergence, and give yourself some security. Monitor who's coming on, define, classify what they're able to do, and then allow them to operate on the network. And this can be fully automated without the input of staff or personnel. So it's making it simpler. What you can also do is you can look at how you actually roll out that management? Do you want it to be in the cloud? Some organizations don't want that. Some organizations want it on premise. ALE are more than comfortable saying, if you want it on premise, say you're a military organization or a government that wants to keep it as secure as possible, that would absolutely be the way to do it. And similarly, the same goes for voice. ALE has been doing voice for, well, over 100 years. Now, part and parcel to that is, yes, we've got a great legacy there, but we also know how to deliver that both on-premise, in the cloud, or perhaps a hybrid. Now, that side of things, some clients are saying that they want private cloud. They want the ability to have the flexibility of cloud, but from their own data centers. Now, that's great, gives you absolute security, but a lot of clients aren't using ALE cloud services for their voice. So we also will deliver them a service called Rainbow Guardian. And Rainbow Guardian simply a fail-safe solution that says that if you are maybe experiencing downtime with your cloud provider, or you are subject to a ransomware attack, it's a sovereign software for Europe that allows you to be up and running within 20 minutes and have a full UC platform available to your users to avoid the downtime and the losses that are associated with that. The last thing that I'll probably mention is jumping back to the data side, is that you have the capability. We have a thing called diversified code, which is built into OmniVista. Again, if you buy our management platform, everything is in there in one go. And diversified code allows you to essentially scramble the code on your switch. And each switch would have the code scrambled in a different piece of memory, which means that should a hacker attack and breach the first switch, the whole attack has to begin again to get through the second and the third, which slows them down and essentially means that your network is protected. Again, these are things that you can do to deliver value. They're not necessarily, you don't have to have them forced on you, but they're available to you.
It's such a broad scope as well. It's great. Yeah, so much protection there for users. What advice would you offer then to business technology consumers? How can they take practical action to protect their systems and customers from attack?
Oh, wow, okay, that's a broad one. So again, another driver of NIST is actually to get companies to plan and to mitigate against the potential. So that would be the first one. Look at what your weaknesses are and look at how you can resolve those. Now, part of that would be communicating with your business partner and with your vendor. Not just ALE, but other vendors out there all have excellent advice, have ways of working. So listen to what your vendor is saying, how they can help you establish security in that side. If we look at some practical aspects, absolutely use ZTNA. Confirming that you make everything unavailable is important, and you can put multiple layers on top of that, multi-factor authentication or other aspects of security to enhance that even further. Secure your network, secure your devices, even the older devices, make sure they're patched properly and up to date. It's amazing how much equipment out there is on unsupported releases. That's an obvious vulnerability, and if there is a problem in there, it will get exposed. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but it will get exposed. Consider using IDS and IPS for intrusion detection and protection. Now that will generally tie into a zero trust network and a management system. So again, you can add value. It's not unique to ALE. We do it, but so do others. And it's a real good way of actually saying we can look at our preferred firewall solution, we can look at our network solution, and we can actually have them speaking to each other. Antivirus, phishing attacks, malware, it's very common, shouldn't be overlooked, and you need to take that into account. ALE, for example, can assist our clients in avoiding DDoS attacks. So again, what can your vendor of choice do for you, and what value adds does that bring to your shield? And then beyond that, it's simply a matter of how you look at things like AI, machine learning, to enhance the communications and the defenses that you've got in place. Pen testing, those aspects are all good. If you would allow me, just before I came on this, I was on a conference call, and an anecdote got mentioned, and I did do a little bit of homework before I came on here. And the anecdote was that a criminal, it's 20 times more profitable to utilize cyber security than it is to use the drug trade. And I thought, okay, that's just someone talking. So I went and did a quick search on it, and there's an organization, the GFI, which is a think tank in America. They speculated that the drug trade worldwide was worth $500 billion US. So that's fine. We've got a size of the drug trade. In the UK, there's a company called MetCloud, and they did a white paper, and their white paper said in 2025, cyber criminals will reap the rewards to 10.5 trillion. Now, I'm not sure if that's where my colleague got his numbers, but that was a very quick scan on the internet. And yeah, the ratio is around 20-1, more profitable to be in cybersecurity. Now, if you're doing that, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the companies that aren't investing within the things that I've just spoken about. If you're not investing in those things and not looking after best practice, you are going to be the victim of and the target of these companies that are looking to profit.
Absolutely. Those numbers are quite stark, hey?
They're eye-watering. And we see the war on drugs worldwide, and you have an influence there that's a big number, but cyber security and the impact is way bigger.
It's huge, absolutely huge. Well, I have just one more question for you, Gerry.
Okay.
And this is around networks. How do you advise enterprises scale their networks amidst some of these rising pressures that they're facing?
Okay. I think two immediate areas would spring to mind: autonomous networking and automation of zero trust. So if I take autonomous networking in the first instance, what I would say about that is, if you put in place the correct tools with the correct management overlay, what you can start to do is reap the benefit of the automation of tasks and configuration. Now that takes out human error and allows the employees of the IT team to start to focus rather on day-to-day menial task moves as changes, adding on new users, taking off old users. It allows them to actually start to be more strategic and do things of more value to the business. If you use a fabric that allows simplicity, for example, ALE use shortest path bridging, SPB, that brings in simplicity, it brings in ease of onboarding, it brings in microsegmentation. These all allow security to be controlled easier. So that would be the first one. The second one would absolutely be zero trust, and I've mentioned it a few times already. But if you use, for example, 8021X, 8021X allows user profiling. Within Alcatel, we use a phrase UNP, or user network profile. That just means that we bring users and devices onto the network and give them profiles. And what that allows is containerization around that. It allows them to operate in certain areas, but not in others. And it's very easy to manage. Devices, you should use device fingerprinting for IoT. Now, that's all about recognizing a device, classifying it, and then constantly monitoring it. And if you do that, it means that while a camera or a door lock may get put on by one of your team, your support team, what it doesn't mean is that you've got to spend time putting them into VLANs. They're automatically looked after. So IT teams no longer have to consistently reconfigure the network. It should automatically be done. And so that's where the power of the autonomy really kicks in. If you're using, and most of us are now using remote workers or have remote sites, clearly what you need to be looking to utilize is SD-WAN or Secure Service Edge, SSE. Now, that's come together as SASE, but that allows users to move between home office, a work environment, with the same security and the same confidence. Again, it's about simplicity, but not bringing in additional risk.
Seems like there's that's a kind of key way to balance that productivity and security piece that we hear can be challenging sometimes. So
And it's going, I guess here in the UK, one of the things that we're hearing from government is that they want us to move more back to the office. There's going to be an interesting dynamic there, whether more people move back to the office now that a lot of us are home based. And the problems for CIOs, CISOs is that they've got to balance these different aspects of what's being expected from their employees, the expectations from regulation, all of these they have to balance in some way, and it's not going to be easy.
absolutely, big challenge. Thank you, Gerry. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. Great to talk to you today.
An absolute pleasure to be speaking to you too.